So let me start with this. If you were to see after independence, predominantly up to the 60s, between the 50s and the 60s, India was predominantly an agricultural country. Then 70s and 80s saw us getting into manufacturing in a very big way. And 90 onwards, people didn't speak about anything else other than IT. 2000, it was a case of LTEs with all the BPOs coming in. And 2005 onwards, it has been retail. That's how the whole topography of India, that's how it has evolved in terms of industrialization. When we talk about retail, we need to talk about consumer base. So obviously, we are a land of 1.2 billion people. So we are a land with a huge consumer base. And it's this which seems to be attracting just about everybody in the world to come and have a share of the pie. What was retail till yesterday? Mostly single owner, mom and pop stores, very small area up to 500 square feet, few product categories, even less brand, and virtually no choice of models. Significant supply-demand gap with rampant black marketing. Even 25, 30 years back, if you have to see, even with Vivek's, we didn't have more than about 2 models of refrigerators. We had 2 brands of refrigerators, Godrej and Kelvinator. We didn't have, in each of them, we didn't have more than the 3 or 4 models of each of those. And the color was always in very deep white. Today that is not the case. Higher purchase and loan options were hardly anything, because in those days, any kind of a loan used to be considered as a social statement. People with low disposable incomes, invariably joint families, neutralization of families had not taken place, and as such, demand was not triggered. Retail thrives on consumption. Grossly inadequate infrastructure, low or no focus on product quality. That's it. This is what I have. You want to buy, buy. So predominantly it used to be a buyer's, a seller's market and not a buyer's market. It did undergo a certain metamorphosis. Today, retail India, the closest estimates say that the revenues are 450 billion US dollars. And it has got a growth rate of between 13 and 15%. Sadly, the organized and modern retail constitute only 9%, which is roughly a little less than 30 billion US dollars. Out of which organized retail constitutes only 5%. Unlike in very many other countries, which I'll show you later, which is so much higher. It's the largest industry today, accounting for a little more than 30% of our GDP, and constitutes a huge amount in terms of employment opportunity. We have always been called as a nation of traders. India was involved in trading even before money economics came into the picture. So consequently, we have more than 12 million retail outlets, small and big, majority of which are in the unorganized sector. That's around 95%. There is no country which boasts of one shop for every 100 people. There's no country. What have been the key drivers which brought in these kind of metamorphoses? Rising incomes, greater disposable incomes, consumerism moving upwards, urbanization, more and more towns becoming cities, more and more cities becoming metros and things like that. Impetus to infrastructure. All these things propelled by economic reforms and most importantly demographic changes. Money changed hands from people who are in 50s and 60s to people who are in late 20s and early 30s. So obviously none of them wants to follow Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett says you save all you can and then if anything is left you spend. But today people want to spend everything and if anything is left they would like to save. So that has happened purely because of this demographic change. That has triggered change in lifestyle. Now change in lifestyle triggers consumption. Consumption triggers retail. That's the whole process. All this has not happened without Government of India lending its hand. Various sectors have been opened up. FDI is 100% in banking, insurance, in real estate, in just for everything, except in retail. Retail also saw a small little change. In 2006, a certain small amount was opened up with 51% for single brand outlets. Multi-brand outlets were not given the green signal till yesterday. And even the announcement of yesterday has to go through both the houses of Parliament before it is enacted into a bill and the law is enforced. This will give you a small insight into organized versus unorganized retail in Asian countries. If you can see, Indonesia has got nearly 55% of organized retail, Thailand about 15%, Philippines 35%, you have South Korea at 22%, China at 20%, and India is at 9%. So, evolution of retail, organized retail in India is still at its infancy. It has really not evolved to an extent that it has evolved in other developing and developed countries. We always talk of Russia, China, India, Brazil to be among the top 5 growing nations. Brazil has got more than 75% organized retail. That is the level of penetration in Brazil against India, which is 5%. Some people may argue as 9% because, frankly, modern retail is very much different from organized retail. These are some of the big global retailers, most of whom we'll be hearing a lot about during the coming days. This is also considered as the next booming industry, expected to grow at compounded annual growth rate of 15% over the next 5 years. Already very many new formats are being experimented. I can tell you one classic example of, I think, Lalita Jewelry of Chennai, who opened up a huge store in Madurai, where one floor was jewelry, the second floor was textile, and the third floor was durables. So people are trying out various things. RMKB, which is again a textile format, has opened up a shop in Tirunelveli, which is also selling electronics. So there are very many formats that we are trying to do to ensure that footfalls, which has always been a bane of retail, is taken care of. Share of modern organized retail likely to grow from 5% to 15 to 20% over the next decade. as against 25 to 75 in the more developed economies. Ongoing retail boom is expected to translate into 8 million new jobs over the next 5 to 6 years without FDI. If FDI comes, the estimate is a staggering nearly 30 million new jobs, which means that the number one employer in the world, which is Indian Railways, will be nowhere near what retail India can provide in terms of employment. Of course, these are all estimates open to debate. India rated as the 5th most attractive emerging retail market, and it is ranked second in the Global Retail Development Index of 30 developing countries drawn up by 80. All these things make India as a very, very attractive proposition for big retailers, global retailers to come in. How is it going to transform? And all these things, believe me, all this presentation was put together by me much before the cabinet announcement. So some of these are historical now. Share of organized retail in India will grow to 15% by 2015. GDP expected to grow at 8 to 10% each year. Global retailers will be competing on Indian soil, leading to cost competitiveness. So there is no question of anybody absorbing cost of inefficiency the way we are doing it today. So ultimately everybody is going to gain. Reliance Retail, 4 years back when they got into retail, they did a lot of survey, and they did a lot of study. They thought of pumping 30,000 crores of rupees so that they could have at least 10% of the Indian retail market in the next 3 years. That didn't happen. That's okay. But the study indicates that retail revenues contribute 27% of the global GDP. Huge investments are on the anvil. As I told you, all this is without taking into consideration FDI. In KSA Technopack recently did a survey, and they found that in the next 10 years, another 500 million square feet of space, retail space, will be created, either in the form of the huge malls or in the form of hypermarkets or in the form of standalone stores, big format stores, what we call as large format stores. This is very interesting. If you took revenue of retail, 74% comes from food and beverages, with a penetration of just about 1%, which means this is a huge opportunity, especially for people like Walmart, Target, Costco, and all those people, Metro. With just 1%, it contributes 74% of the total retail revenue. Whereas our vertical, durables, constitutes just a meager 5%, with a penetration of about 17%. Some of them argue it as 15%. These are all just estimates. All of us know it is just acquisition or construction of physical capital by a firm from one country to another host country. Now, why FDI? Retailing continues to be the least evolved industry in India. All other industries have evolved only because of greater reforms, more liberalization, FDI is coming in. Organized retail accounts for a mere 5% in Indian retail, as it means 25% plus in China, 10%, 40%